here, and we really appreciate it. I know my mom did. Oh, I can't.
Keep talking.
So, talking. Here's the program. The program, because you don't have programs, so we're going to tell you what's
Thank all of
happening.
you for coming.
Aw.
Wouldn't have missed it. Oh Lord.
See what you started?
These
Oh.
crying McCarthy, the crying McCarthys.
Even Michael and Eva, that's our neighbor lady, said, we're okay as long as nobody else breaks down. Look what you done.
I know,
Yeah.
now look at I
know.
so stop it.
Uncle Joe does that all the time.
Yeah, I let
Love him for that.
So it's easier for
Okay, everybody, quiet. Listen up, listen
I'm
up.
going to give you a list first. I want to introduce who's going to be doing things, and then I'll try and say a few
Right.
things. So, and introduce you. This is Amy, David's daughter, and Mike, David's son, and they're both going to do something after
nice.
I finish.
Oh, wow.
And then my amazing uncle and cousin are going to sing Amazing Grace. Joe is 95. He's the best singer in the family. so
Yeah.
So, and then we're gonna have Danny and, I'm just telling you this so you know who people are, because you don't know who everybody is. Danny and my cousin John McDermott, who is a McCarthy, are gonna do something, and
Follow
then
that
Tim's
one.
gonna speak, and then my dear friend David Kaufman, I talked into saying something. Dad and Albert were friends since they were 6 years old. We grew up with those three people in the back, Kaufman. And then we're gonna have lunch, which will be great. So, we're doing this for David, obviously, and Tim was saying the other day, we had like this split family. David and I were the two oldest, and they were the little kids, and so we were the two that kind of grew up together. We were playmates. He was my older brother until I sort of evened out with him, and then we were like a grade apart. So we did everything in our teenage years. I dated his friends, he dated my friends, we went to the same parties. As little kids, when we went on vacations, he was the guy I hung out with. And he was, as everybody said, he was then, as he was throughout his life, just very kind, very gentle. A great big brother, except he was the one who got me into trouble when I was perfect.
They always do that.
So,
I just said when you were, past tense.
Yeah.
I was perfect Mindy until I hit my teens, and then we kind of flipped. But when I was little, because Dave got in trouble for really nothing things, but I looked at him as siblings do. You go, well, I don't want to be. I'm going to be good. So I was till I was about 17 or 18, and then I gave him a lot of trouble. But so one of my favorite stories about David and I was when I was 14, I think, and he was 16. He had his driver's license, I didn't. This is the kind of trouble he got me into. Dad had taught us how to drive when I was 12. I don't know how old he was. In case there was an emergency, we were out in the desert. We used to go out there to my Uncle Denny's. We went on these dirt roads, and he taught us how to drive. So I felt very confident driving. So one day we were at a friend's house. Our parents were out golfing, and we had our station wagon. And Dad goes, "Do you want to drive?" And I go, "Yeah, sure, that'd be fine." So we drive along the golf course, and of course my parents are playing golf. And as we go by, they go, "Oh, there's the kids." So they got home, and Dad always did this thing where he said, "Okay, I'm going to talk to you in a little while," and then you had to go sweat it out.
Oh, right.
Oh my
Oh
God,
my
what's he gonna
gosh.
do? And we didn't usually get the boom lowered on us, but this time we did. So we got, I believe, and David's not here to contradict me, I believe we got a 6-week grounding. Yeah, so that we couldn't see friends after school, that kind of thing. We couldn't do anything. I think it was 6 weeks, could have been 4. It was a long time. And so that was pretty horrifying. And after a week or two, we were supposed to study to be good. After a week or two, maybe 2, they wanted to get us out of it, right? Because it was really too long. So they gave us the option to get out of it if we'd go door to door and hand out leaflets for Barry Goldwater. So, for a lot of reasons, that's
Oh my
so
God.
An abusive
But at the time, we got out of the house and we got our friends to go with us, and we were out every afternoon. Also, for having to go door to door. I don't think we knocked on doors, but it was still kind of horrifying. So we did it for a couple days, and then we were off grounding.
You didn't hand out enough.
Oh, sorry, everybody. Everybody just reads that. So, anyway, that is one of the enduring memories that I have. Actually, the other one who got me in trouble involved the Kaufmans. They rented my grandmother's house in Malibu Creek Canyon, and they just said wrong. And they had moved out, and Dave and I had kind of grown up there with my dad raised orchids with my Uncle Joe for a long time up there, and they rented the house, so we just kind of all hung out, and Lori had a horse, which I got bucked off once, and so they moved out. David and I were up there with Dad, with the orchids, but we just hung out with the orange trees, and I don't know what we were doing. But we got bored, so we went over to the house, and we were looking in the windows, and I'm sure it was David, because I would not have done this, said, "Hey, I'd really like to go inside. Look, this window's open." And I go, "Yeah, that would be cool." I probably didn't say that because I think it was 7, but so he opens the window and the screen's kind of locked. So he had something to cut the screen, and so we got in. But my parents figured out it was us because, you know, who else was there? So we had to write a note to my grandmother, Gaga, saying how sorry we were, and we had to raise money with little chores, and I remember we had to pay her something. And when my grandmother died, we found the notes with pennies and nickels and quarters taped to them. And our handwriting was in, you know, was like 2nd grade handwriting, so
Is
I
that
know we were very
Erickson?
little.
Grandmother Eckerson?
So, anyway, those are some of my memories. I also have many dear ones.
Uncle Mike.
I just wanted to
Mike's mom.
say that, like, and Timmy will probably say this, but every email we got from people, you know, with sympathy, which is including you guys, everybody said, I haven't seen Dave in a long time, but I remember that he was one of the kindest, sweetest people that I met, and he was, and his kids know that, and he was patient, and he was just a good guy. I used to say, "Hey, David, he's had some struggles in his life and some sadness in his life, but he's always been the same person, and he would give you the shirt off his back in a heartbeat if he needed help." One of his stepsons said to me that, he said, "I've known David for 20 years, and one of the things about David is he was always there for me." And I think that's who David was. The last story is the last time David called me before he got sick, and then I talked to him a lot, was he called and said, out of the blue, and said, "Hi, how are you?" And I go, "Dave, what's going on?" He said, "Well, I want to call and give you my condolences." I went, "Well, why?" He said, "Well, the Queen died." This was in September. So I want to give the condolences on the Queen's death. And he went, "Well, that's really nice. I don't really, I want to give John condolences." That's what he said. And I don't have his number. And I said, "Well, John doesn't really care about the Queen's death. But I do. I think it's kind of, you know, I'm an American, so I think that's all cool, so you can give me condolences." So he did. He also called Mom, because they're kind of the same age.
The Queen Mum.
So he called Mom and gave her the condolences. Anyway, we love Tim. I cry every day. This last week, I've been in his slideshow watching his life, the big grin and the big laugh. And anyway, I'm not going to cry. I'm going to go on and move to Mike and Amy, who are going to both come up and for support and do your thing.
Yeah.